I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but here we are. I'm 32M, my wife is 30F, and we've been married for almost 6 years. Together for 10. For the longest time, I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but stable in that quiet, predictable way that makes you think you've made it. Lately, though, something's been off. It started small. She got sharper with me, like unnecessarily harsh over dumb things. I'd ask a normal question, and she'd snap like I was accusing her of something. Then she'd act like nothing happened 5 minutes later. It messed with my head more than I want to admit. She also started lying. Not big, obvious lies, just weird, pointless ones. Like saying she was at work when I knew she left early. Or claiming she hadn't seen a message when I literally saw it marked as read. When I called her out, she'd double down. Always. I kept telling myself it was stress. Work. Life. Whatever excuse felt easier than facing what my gut was trying to tell me. But yeah, looking back now, those were the first cracks. The thing is, I didn't confront it right away. I wish I could say I trusted my instincts, but I didn't. I rationalized everything. She started guarding her phone like it was classified information. We used to leave our phones anywhere, no big deal. Suddenly, it was always face down, always within reach. If I walked into the room, she'd tilt the screen away just a little, subtle, but not subtle enough. Her schedule got messy. Late meetings that didn't match what she told me earlier. Team dinners that somehow never included the same coworkers twice. One time she told me she was staying overnight at a friend's place because they had too much wine. But when I casually brought it up to that friend a week later, she looked confused. Said they hadn't seen each other in months. That was the first moment my stomach really dropped. But even then, I didn't push. I just nodded, played it off, pretended I believed her. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of what I'd find if I actually dug deeper. Instead, I started noticing patterns. She'd get texts late at night and smile. Not the kind of smile she gave me anymore. More like private. Like I wasn't part of that world. And that's when the thought hit me for the first time, clear as day. Something is seriously wrong here. I think the moment it stopped being just a feeling and turned into something real was a random Tuesday. Nothing dramatic at first. She came home late again, said it was another last-minute meeting. She looked off. Not guilty exactly, just distracted. Like her mind was somewhere else entirely. We barely talked that night. She showered, got into bed, and fell asleep almost instantly. That alone was weird. She usually scrolls her phone for an hour. And yeah, this is the part I'm not proud of. Her phone lit up on the nightstand around midnight. I told myself not to look. I actually sat there for a solid minute arguing with myself. But something in my gut just wouldn't let it go. So I picked it up. No lock screen preview, another new thing. I hesitated, then unlocked it. I knew her passcode. We'd never hidden that stuff from each other before. The first thing I saw was a thread pinned at the top. No name. Just a single initial. My chest immediately tightened. I opened it. And I wish I could say it was ambiguous. That there was room for doubt. There wasn't. Messages going back weeks. Flirty at first. Then not so subtle. Then, very, very clear. Plans. Inside jokes. Complaints about me. And one message from earlier that night. I miss you already. I remember just staring at the screen, like if I didn't blink, it wouldn't be real. But it was. And in that moment, everything I'd been ignoring finally snapped into place. I didn't wake her up right away. That's the part that still feels surreal to me. I just sat there in the dark, holding her phone, rereading everything like my brain couldn't process it the first time. It got worse the further back I scrolled. At first it was flirting. Yeah, harmless if you really wanted to lie to yourself. But then it turned into meeting up. Specific dates, times, excuses she had used on me, word for word. I recognized entire nights. That team dinner? Yeah, she was with him. The wine night with her friend. Also him. There were photos too. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough that there was no denying what this was. Selfies of them together, her leaning into him in a way I hadn't felt from her in months. And the lies. God, the lies. She complained about me in those messages. Said I was predictable, emotionally exhausting, that she felt stuck. Meanwhile, to my face, she kept acting like everything was just stress, and that I was overthinking things. I remember my hands actually shaking. Not even from anger at first, just pure shock. Like my body didn't know what to do with all of it. At some point, she shifted in her sleep, and I nearly dropped the phone. That's when reality hit me again. I quickly locked it and put it back exactly where it was. And then I just lay there next to her, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking, who the hell is this person I married? I didn't sleep at all that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Her words. The way she talked about me like I was some inconvenience in her life instead of her husband. Morning came way too fast. She woke up like nothing was wrong. Seriously, stretched, yawned, gave me a quick morning, like it was any normal day. Meanwhile, I felt like my entire reality had been ripped out from under me. I studied her face while she got ready. And here's the messed up part. She looked completely normal. No guilt, no hesitation. If anything, she was slightly annoyed, like I was the one being distant. At one point she even asked, "Why are you being weird?" That almost broke me right there. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I decided I needed to be 100% sure. Not because I doubted what I saw. I didn't, but because I knew if I confronted her, she'd lie. She always lied. And I needed something she couldn't twist. So I played along. Acted normal. Went to work. Texted her like usual. Meanwhile, my brain was running nonstop, replaying everything, connecting dots I hadn't wanted to see before. And that's when I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I was going to catch her in the act. The next few days felt like I was living a double life. On the surface, everything looked normal. I texted her like usual, asked about her day, even made dinner plans. She played along perfectly. Honestly, if I hadn't seen those messages, I would have believed every word. But behind the scenes, I was watching everything. I started paying attention to patterns. When she texted, how long she took to reply, when she'd suddenly go quiet. And sure enough, there were gaps. Predictable ones. Almost like scheduled. Then another thing hit me. She suddenly had a late meeting planned for Friday. She mentioned it casually, like it wasn't a big deal. Didn't even look up from her phone when she said it. That same night, I checked her messages again. Same guy. Same tone. And there it was, a plan. Same time as the meeting. Different location. My stomach dropped, but at the same time, something inside me just went cold. Like the shock was wearing off and being replaced by something more focused. Controlled. I didn't argue. Didn't question her. Just nodded and said, "Yeah, no problem." She even smiled at me. Smiled. Friday couldn't come fast enough. And for the first time, I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was preparing. Friday felt unreal from the moment I woke up. It's weird how your brain works in situations like this. Part of me kept thinking, maybe something will change. Maybe she cancel. Maybe she confess. Maybe I misunderstood something. But no. She went through the day like it was routine. She even kissed me goodbye in the morning, quick, distracted, like checking off a box. I remember standing there after she left, just staring at the door, feeling this mix of anger and something worse. Like I was already grieving something that wasn't officially over yet. We texted a bit during the day. Normal stuff. She sent a busy today weary face message around noon. I almost laughed. It was so rehearsed at this point. By late afternoon, I could feel my heart racing nonstop. Couldn't focus at work. Every minute felt stretched out. Then around 6 p.m., she texted. Running late, meeting got pushed. Might be home pretty late. There it was. Same script. I replied. No worries, good luck, red heart. Yeah. I even added the heart. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see if she'd feel even a hint of guilt. She didn't. Instead, she sent back, thanks, love you. That message hit harder than anything else so far. Because I knew exactly where she was going. And it wasn't a meeting. Around 7:30, I left the apartment. I didn't tell her. Obviously. I drove to the location I saw in her messages. Some low-key bar across town. Not the kind of place we'd ever go together. That alone said a lot. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight, they started to hurt. I kept thinking, what am I actually going to do when I see them? I didn't have a plan beyond. Find out the truth. And yeah, part of me was still hoping I wouldn't. That I'd walk in and she wouldn't be there. That this was all some insane misunderstanding. But deep down, I already knew. I parked across the street and just sat there for a minute, staring at the entrance. People going in. People coming out. Normal Friday night energy. Meanwhile, my entire life felt like it was about to implode. I took a breath, got out of the car, and walked toward the door. And I swear, the second I stepped inside, I saw her. I spotted her almost immediately. She was sitting at the bar, slightly turned away from the entrance, laughing. Not the polite, forced laugh she'd been giving me lately. No, this was different. Relaxed. Natural. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in a long time. And next to her, yeah, him. I didn't know what I expected. Some kind of obvious villain? Instead, he just looked normal. Average guy. Which somehow made it worse. Her hand was on his arm. Casual. Familiar. Like it belonged there. I just stood there for a second, frozen. Watching them like I was outside my own body. Every instinct was screaming at me to turn around and leave. To not make it real. But I didn't. I walked closer. Slowly. And then she saw me. The shift in her face was instant. Like someone flipped a switch. The smile dropped. Her eyes widened just slightly. Not even full panic, just calculation. That's what got me. Not guilt. Not shock. Calculation. I stopped right in front of him. No dramatic speech. No yelling. I just looked at her and said, "How's the meeting going?" Silence. The guy looked between us, completely confused. "Oh, what?" She pulled her hand back like she'd been burned and stood up quickly. "What are you doing here?" she asked, sharp, almost annoyed. Annoyed? That's when something in me snapped. I laughed. Actually laughed. Seriously? That's your question? The guy started putting things together at that point. You could see it on his face. He leaned back slightly, like he suddenly didn't want to be part of this anymore. She stepped closer to me, lowering her voice. "We need to talk." "Not here." And there it was again, control. Always trying to control the situation. I shook my head. "No, I think this is perfect." People around us were starting to notice now. Not a full scene yet, but enough attention that she clearly hated it. Her expression hardened. And then, without missing a beat, she said, "It's not what you think." I just stared at her. Because after everything I'd seen, that was the line she went with. I honestly don't know what I expected her to say in that moment, but it definitely wasn't that. "It's not what you think." After everything. The messages, the lies, her sitting there with him like I didn't exist. For a second, I just looked at her, trying to figure out if she actually believed that would work. "You sure about that?" I said, way calmer than I felt. "Because I've read everything." That's when her expression changed again. Not to guilt. To damage control. She glanced back at the guy. He looked like he wanted to disappear, and then back at me. "You went through my phone?" she snapped. There it was. Deflection. Right on schedule. I almost smiled, but there was nothing funny about it. "Yeah," I said. "And I'm really glad I did." She crossed her arms, like somehow I had crossed a line here. That's a violation of trust. That actually hit me in a weird way, not because she was right, but because of how absurd it sounded coming from her. I shook my head slowly. "You're cheating on me. For weeks. Maybe longer. And that's what you go with." The guy finally stood up. "Okay, I didn't know she was married like this," he said quickly, hands up a bit. "She told me things were basically over." Of course she did. I looked at him. For a moment, I actually believed him. He didn't look smug or defensive, just uncomfortable and caught in the middle. "She told you that?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah. Said you guys were done, just living together still." I let out a breath, long and slow. Then I looked back at her. "Whoa," I said quietly. "So you're lying to him too?" She didn't even deny it right away. Just rolled her eyes, like this was all getting inconvenient. "It's complicated," she said. That phrase, I swear it made everything worse. Because to her, this wasn't betrayal. It was just inconvenience. At that point, I think something inside me just shut off. Not in a dramatic way. More like a switch flipped and all the chaos turned into this weird, quiet clarity. I looked at both of them, her, standing there annoyed and defensive, and him, awkwardly stuck in the middle of something he clearly didn't sign up for. And I realized I didn't even recognize her anymore. "Complicated?" I repeated, almost under my breath. "No, it's actually pretty simple." She sighed, like I was being difficult. "Can you not do this here?" she said, glancing around. "You're making a scene." That was the moment I knew there was nothing left to salvage in that version of her. Not because she cheated, as messed up as that is, but because of how she handled it. The lies, the deflection, the complete lack of accountability. I nodded slowly. "You're right," I said. "Let's not make a scene." For a split second, she looked relieved, like she'd regained control. Then I turned to the guy. "You can have her." Silence. Her head snapped toward me. What is that supposed to mean? I didn't even raise my voice. "It means I'm done." That landed. Not in a dramatic explosion, just this heavy, quiet shift. Like the weight of what I said finally broke through whatever narrative she'd been telling herself. She scoffed at first. "Oh, please, you're overreacting." Overreacting. I actually let out a small laugh. "Yeah," I said. "That's exactly what this is." The guy muttered something like, "I'm gonna go," and stepped away, clearly done with the situation. Honestly, I didn't blame him. And then it was just me and her. No distractions. No audience that mattered. Just the reality she'd been avoiding. She looked at me differently now. Not soft, not sorry, just calculating again, like she was trying to figure out how to spin this. You're seriously going to throw everything away over this? She asked. That question hit harder than I expected. Because to her, this was just a mistake. But to me, this was everything. We ended up outside, on the sidewalk. I needed air. Needed space to think without her sharp, clipped voice cutting through every thought. She followed, of course, leaning in like she could twist the story back in her favor. Look, I messed up, she said, almost casually, like admitting it would fix things. But it doesn't mean we can't work on us. I stopped walking, turned to face her fully. My hands were shaking, not from anger, at least not just yet, but from the sudden, raw realization that the person I loved, the person I trusted, had been living a double life right in front of me. Work on us, I repeated, my voice cold. Do you even know what you've done? Her expression flickered, surprise, then irritation, then annoyance. Classic. Always annoyed when confronted. It wasn't like I wanted this to happen, she said. You've been distant, stressed. We both needed space. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A bitter, hollow one. Space? You cheated? That's not space. That's betrayal. That's hiding a life from me while pretending everything's fine. She paused, like she was hunting for words, for excuses, anything. And then she dropped the line that still haunts me. I didn't lie about everything. I still love you. That hit differently. Not relief. Not hope. Just this cold, sinking weight. Because I realized love wasn't the problem. Her respect for me, her honesty, that was gone. And that's what made this irreparable. I looked at her, and I felt everything collapse. Anger, sadness, shock, and somehow, a strange sense of clarity. I need time, I said simply. Alone. Her mouth opened like she was about to protest, but I didn't let her. I turned, walked away, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was breathing in my own life again. This was it. No more pretending. No more lies. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same. The days that followed were surreal. Every little thing reminded me of her. The sound of her laugh, the mug she always left on the counter, even the weird little sticky note she'd put on the fridge that now felt like a cruel joke. I barely slept. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Part of me expected her to call and beg, to explain, to fix it. But she didn't. She just existed in her own world, like nothing had happened. I tried talking to friends, but nothing helped. Most of them gave the standard. You deserve better. Which was true, but didn't touch the sting of betrayal. Betrayal isn't logical. It's a gut punch, a physical ache that stays long after your brain knows the right answers. I cycled through emotions constantly. Anger, rage, heartbreak, confusion, relief. It was exhausting. One minute, I wanted to scream at her. The next, I wanted to curl up and cry. And the worst part? The memories. Every little happy moment we had together got hijacked by thoughts of her lying to me in that same moment. Birthdays, anniversaries, lazy weekends. Did she really feel the way she said she did? Or was it all just a cover while she planned her secret life? I hated her. I hated myself. I hated that I had trusted her so completely. But in the midst of all that mess, a strange thing happened. I started to feel free. Not happy, not healed, not yet. But free from the illusions. Free from pretending everything was okay. And that, as bitter as it was, felt like the first step forward. After about a week of this emotional roller coaster, I finally confronted myself with the big question, what now? I thought about trying to work on the marriage. Couples therapy. Talking it out. Maybe she'd change, maybe I could forgive. But the truth hit me hard. Forgiveness wasn't the issue. Trust was gone. And without trust, everything else is meaningless. I also thought about staying. For the kids! If we had them, if life had been more intertwined. But even imagining waking up every day knowing she had been lying, sneaking around. I couldn't picture it. Not for a moment. So I made the hardest decision of my life. I was leaving. I didn't announce it with fanfare. I didn't yell or fight. I just packed a bag, moved my essentials to a friend's place, and told her I needed space. Her reaction? Shock, then anger, then the usual deflection. "You're overreacting. This is sudden. Can't we talk?" I shook my head, voice steady but firm. "We already talked. You proved who you are. I'm done." That was it. No begging, no back and forth. Just clarity. And, for the first time in months, a sense of peace. Not happiness, that would take longer, but peace. It hurt. More than I can put into words. But the alternative, staying in a house full of lies and betrayal, would have destroyed me completely. I realized that leaving wasn't just about her. It was about saving myself. And I knew I had to do it, even if it meant stepping into a world that felt terrifyingly empty at first. The weeks after leaving were brutal. Every little thing reminded me of her. I'd walk past our favorite coffee shop and feel my chest tighten. I'd hear a song on the radio and suddenly be back in the apartment, arguing silently with myself over what I could have done differently. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the anger started to fade. Not completely. It's still there sometimes, sharp as a knife, but manageable. The heartbreak dulled into a dull ache. And I started noticing something I hadn't felt in a long time, my own life again. I started exercising, just to feel my body work. I spent more time with friends, people who actually showed up for me. I picked up hobbies I'd abandoned, even small things like reading before bed, things that reminded me I existed outside of her. I didn't talk to her. Not a word. She tried once or twice, texts, calls, but I ignored them. I didn't need to hear lies or apologies that didn't feel real. I needed silence. And slowly, I started to feel whole again. Not perfect, not healed, but like myself. The version of me she had tried to erase with her lies was coming back. Stronger, smarter, wiser. I realized that this betrayal, as painful as it was, taught me something vital. Some people show their true colors eventually. And the earlier you see them for who they really are, the sooner you can choose yourself over them. I don't know what she learned from this. Honestly, I stopped caring. But I learned something I'll carry forever. I'm worth honesty. I'm worth respect. And no one has the right to take that from me. This was my breaking point, but also my beginning. The hardest choice in my life ended up being the one that saved me. Looking back, the whole experience feels like a cruel, intense lesson I didn't ask for. Here's what I've learned. 1. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. I ignored the early signs for months, convincing myself I was overreacting. That only made the pain worse. 2. Lies destroy faster than betrayal itself. Her cheating was awful, but the lies, the constant deflections, the manipulation, that's what made it impossible to rebuild. 3. You can survive heartbreak. I thought I wouldn't. I thought leaving her meant losing everything. But I didn't. I found myself again. Slowly, painfully, but I did. 4. Choose yourself. No matter how much history or love is involved, you have to protect your own well-being. Staying in a toxic, dishonest relationship isn't loyalty. It's self-destruction. 5. Healing is a process, not a switch. It doesn't happen overnight. Some days still hurt. But the pain fades when you focus on living for yourself, not surviving someone else's lies. So here's my advice to anyone going through something like this. Listen to your gut, don't ignore the signs, and don't let anyone convince you that their deception is complicated or not what you think. It is exactly what it looks like. And you deserve better than excuses. I'm not happy yet, but I'm free. And for now, that's enough.